I saw this earlier in the week from Joe Malm from the Good Law Project, and he's uploaded this photo, and he says it's from Membury Services. Membury Services is on the M4, so this is a major road in the UK that goes from east to west. It basically goes from the edge of Wales to London. So this is one of our most important roads. And on there we have service stations. I don't know what Americans call them, truck stops or something. I don't know. It's where you can pull in and use the toilet and buy a McDonald's and spend too much money on a fluffy toy or whatever. Anyway, some of them have Pokemon card vending machines actually. But we have this photo here, which has an arrow pointing one way with a man, and then a little man taking a shower, and someone in a wheelchair, and then the trans symbol, and then a couple changing a baby. And then on the right we have a little woman taking a shower, and then a woman changing a nappy. So Joe's responded, oops, so much clarity. Visitors will visit the UK, look at these signs and think, these guys have completely lost the plot, and they'd be right. So I think a lot of people's, including my initial reaction was, God, they've put up this new sign saying that trans people have to go to the men's toilets, like all trans people. And I think that was very easy to react in that way. And I felt quite stressed by it. Obviously in the fallout of the Supreme Court ruling and stuff, and the EHRC saying that trans people should be banned from public and things, it was depressing to see this. However, someone snapped me back into out of panic mode. So Cyber Spice on Blue Sky, thank you very much. They say, I am trans, I hate the Supreme Court ruling and what the EHRC is saying, but right now people are getting their knickers in a twist. That's a British phrase for getting panicked over this photo. It doesn't say what you think it does. There's a long corridor to the right, and it says turn left if you want to use these facilities. Here's the photo and mine. So we've got the original, and then they have men's toilets and women's toilets like they've always had. And then you can go down the corridor, and there is a accessible toilet. And I mean, you can't see the trans symbol there. But I think what this has made me realize is some institutions are trying to be inclusive or positive. But what they want to do is they want to have men's, and they want to have a women's, and then they want to have another third option if you want it. That was probably the intention here. This sign, as far as I'm aware, my understanding is, has been up since before the Supreme Court ruling. And they have ignorantly, stupidly in my opinion, used the trans flag symbol, or the symbol for trans people, to label their toilets. What it should say, ideally this would say, there'd be a men's toilets, in this photo, men's this way, women's this way, and then they could have another option that says all gender toilets or whatever, however they want to describe it. And then they should all be optional. But when they have, particularly when it's pointing in the same direction as the men's toilets, just the trans symbol, it makes it seem like all trans people are men this way, women this way. So I think this is kind of crappily done. I do think that this maybe when they put it up, they thought, oh, this is clear because there's a special facility that anyone can use. But why would you label it with the trans symbol when it could just, I mean, maybe some cis people want to use a facility that's not gender segregated too. Especially if they're a couple wanting to change a baby, or they have young kids with them, and something like that. And they need to go into a facility together to wash their kids down because they've just fallen in mud or something. So I don't think using the trans symbol is right, but I think in the context of the Supreme Court ruling, suddenly it looks a lot worse than it is. But I don't know. It's hard to know. But I did send Membury Services an inquiry. I'll just get it up here. So I sent them something. I was quite stressed when I sent the first thing. I'll just say what I sent. I said, I'm a British journalist who covers LGBT issues. I've seen a photo on social media, allegedly of Membury services, with a sign that suggests trans people are to use certain facilities. Can you confirm the sign is real? Are all trans people required to use the men's facilities or the disabled facilities? Does this also apply to intersex people? How will you be policing this? Does this apply to staff? If people refuse to use the toilets, will they face prosecution? If employees refuse to use them, will it affect their employment? Do you still have male cleaners in the women's facilities? I've been to Membury services quite a few times. Whenever I drive to London, it's one of the options. And I know that all of these Welcome Break, so Welcome Break's the company that owns them, all of these Welcome Break services have male and female cleaners for all the toilets, and they have a sign on all the doors saying that. Anyway, they didn't respond for ages, and I prompted them again saying, I'm going to talk about this evening. Would you like to comment? And I got an official reply. So this is their official statement. They say, we are committed to ensuring all Welcome Break locations are safe, respectful, and inclusive spaces for all our customers and colleagues. So it's a good start. The sign in question is directing customers, and I just hear this first before jumping to any conclusions, but we'll see. The sign in question is directing customers to a separate toilet facility which is available to anyone who may prefer to use it when visiting our Membury services. We're currently in the process of a wider review of signage on our sites whilst awaiting further guidance. So they're doing we're waiting for the EHRC guidance dance. When they say this sign is directing customers to a separate toilet facility which is available to anyone who may prefer to use it, I think, again, you could maybe read that negatively or positively. Positively. I think I'm choosing to read that positively, and what they're trying to say is we have a separate toilet which isn't like a communal hand washing area, and anyone can use it. And that was the intention. And the fact that they're reviewing this sign is probably good. I don't think they should have the trans symbol. They could write all, or they could maybe just make it more clear, or just write it, or whatever. But you could read that as, oh yeah, we have a separate toilet for anyone. But they didn't specifically say that trans people can use the correct facilities. So I don't know. I can imagine they're trying to avoid a media scandal. I did go in a bit hot, demanding them to answer a load of questions. So, yeah, I think this is maybe a bit overblown, and I also think that I contributed to that. So if you saw that post because of me and panicked that Membury services had changed their sign to segregating trans people, I guess I'm sorry for helping that bad idea spread. But I do think it's possible that the EHRC guidance will come out saying all trans people should be banned, and then Welcome Break will take the position trans people should be banned. I don't think they'll police it. Who knows what's going to happen. But I actually at the moment don't think that this is anything other than someone trying a little bit, but not really trying that hard to just include everyone, and just making a bit of a mess of it. I nearly went to these services. It was like an hour drive from my house. So I was like, should I just go and see the segregation sign? But I decided to see my friends instead, which I think was a better thing. We played a card game called Dominion, which was quite fun. But I'm glad that someone did go and look. So shout out to Cyberspice. And I guess one of the things that I think is important that we do is not amplify, like this is one of the takeaway I want from this, is we really have to be careful at not amplifying panic in the trans community, because there is a lot to panic about. There's a lot of grim stuff going on, and we don't need to create extra things. And it just shows that I can fall for that too. I can be responsible for that too. and so can you. And what's important is, like, if you're really, really angry at me for this, then just let me know in the comments. That's totally fine. I mean, all I can do is say I'm human and I panic too. But what is important is when you find out about this stuff, that it's not as bad as it looks, or it's just completely fake, or whatever, important to then do something about it and call it out. So I'm going to try and present this video in a non-clickbait way, but where people still click on it, because like the clickbait way to get people to click on this video will be Membury bans trans people ? So I did this cartoon a while ago, which I felt like there was something going on where the gender criticals were like, oh my god, they've just made the women's toilets into the unisex toilets, they're just shoving all the trans people in with the women, and women's spaces are being taken away. And then the venue replied to them like, the women's toilets are behind you, and they'd like taken this dishonest photo where you could see like men's and the unisex ones, and then just out of shot were the women's ones, and they'd clearly been lying about it. So I think this like summed up the situation. Hopefully you can see they're like editing the picture. But we don't want to be responsible for this. We don't want to be responsible. Like, you don't want to be the person who's editing the photo because you're a dishonest liar, and we're not going to use misinformation because, like, we lose when there's misinformation. We have to just only see things that are true. That's like the difference between LGBT people and anti-LGBT people is we say things that are true and they don't. And that, like, the truth and the facts is all we have, because we don't have the money, we don't have the power, we don't have the propaganda machine. So it's important we stick to truth. Also, it's immoral to lie. But also, you don't want to be the person who believes this. You don't want to be the person who sees this picture and instantly gets angry and like does something about it, and then causes a load of information to spread, even if you weren't the originator. But yeah, so I think welcome break services are safe to use for trans people at the moment, or as safe as they were yesterday, last week, last year. But whether that will be true in the future, we'll find out.